Alt A. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Care, Donburi for You and Me, presented in partnership between Keiro and Japanese American Cultural and Community Center. My name is Kent Madame, Program Manager at Keiro. Keiro is grateful to partner with JECCC on this program as we bridge not only our areas of expertise, but also our audiences. So thank you all for joining us today. The goal of this three-part series, Cooking with Care, is to provide free culinary demonstrations that feature nutritious and simple Japanese meals for aging patients, or parents, or care recipients. We hope that by the end of this series that you feel more confident in preparing at least 3, maybe new, meals for your loved ones. Without further ado, I want to introduce Jane Matsumoto, Director of Culinary Arts at JECCC, who works here in the TWCCC. Jane will be teaching us how to prepare today's Cooking with Care dish, gyudon. Jane, please tell us more about the space where we're at in JECCC.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Kent. We're so pleased to be working with Keiro and using our kitchen here at the Toshizo Watanabe Culinary Cultural Center. This is a part of a complete garden level installation that was completed about 2 years ago. We've waited through COVID to be able to share this space and our event space with you. We're cooking in a kitchen today that is professionally licensed and certified. Many caterers also prepare their dishes out of here. So we hope that if you haven't visited us already, you have an opportunity sometime to come and see us in person. Meanwhile, as Kent suggested, I will be making gyudon, and that is Japanese for beef bowl or beef don. And to Japanese, gyudon is almost like hamburger or hot dog is to Americans. It's a comfort food. It's readily available, easily made. Many college students know how to make a gyudon at a snap of a finger because it's fast and nutritious and delicious. So we hope that this one bowl meal will be something that you would like to try at home. We're going to get started. The ingredients here are listed in your recipes that you have before you. One of the things that we do is, and I'd like to emphasize the flavoring is done with dashi as really the fundamental basis for Japanese dishes. And we would like to show you how gyudon, where many people may think the flavoring comes from oshoyu or soy sauce, actually the depth of the flavor comes from the combination of the beef and onions in this dashi sauce. So we're going to start first by putting a cup of, half a cup of dashi into this pan. And some of you joined us in our last series, but I showed how dashi is made from scratch, also available and convenient to many busy people and those who just want to get a quick meal done, are these packaged, it almost looks like a tea bag. Very, very easy to find and easy to use dashi packs. So I went ahead and used that for today's recipe, just to show you the ease of use. And I have here the vertically cut onion. It's a half an onion, looks like this. I cut it in half, save this part for later, and I'm going to be just putting this right into the dashi. And the trick to this really is slicing the onions thin, because you want to create a lot of surface area for the flavor of the onions to get into your meat.
It's probably also easier for folks who maybe have trouble chewing to get through
Exactly.
that onion if it's a thin cut onion.
If it's thin cut, yeah. Very true. So we're going to let this simmer a little bit.
I want to let folks know at home that if you have any questions for what we're using, whether it's the dashi that Jane talked about or any of the ingredients or anything, please let us know in the chat. We have the chat open for questions. Our Keiro team can help answer those questions, or they'll let me know that we have questions that came in as well. So please feel free to ask questions or comment on things as they come to you.
Okay, so folks, as you see this simmering, we're going to take our other ingredients, the sake, the mirin, shoyu, and I like to add a little touch of ginger to this mixture. It just adds a little kick. It's optional. And mix it all together. And we put this directly into this pan to make a really flavorful sauce. And now we're going to put our meat into this. I want to show you folks the full cut of what I'm using. This is a very,
Use this camera.
very thin cut piece of meat, and I've cut this into 3 slices. And I'm showing you this because I think it's important for you to see that it's very easy for those who may have chewing issues or can't tolerate hard foods, how thin this meat is. It is easy to cook and it is easy to chew for loved ones. And it cooks very quickly. We're going to talk about some alternative meats also. You can buy these at most Japanese markets. It's pre-sliced and they're frequently on sale, as I found this one. The beauty of this is that, as I mentioned, you don't have to prep the meat very much. Now, what you want to do is to make sure the meat doesn't clump or stick together. So I take a little bit of time. It cooks so quickly because of how thin it is. And I just want to separate them so they don't get stuck together. Since they're so thin, it's easy to do that. And this is basically about it. That's all there is to it. Now, one ingredient that you saw I had not added yet is the sugar. And I do this intentionally because I want the savoriness of the sugar to penetrate into the meat. And today, rather than using regular granulated sugar, you see me using brown sugar.
Is there any flavor difference or anything between brown and maybe like cane white sugar?
Not for me, not really. I love the Okinawa brown sugar if I can get it. It has a richness that is incomparable. But otherwise, just any kind of brown sugar you find at the grocery store is just perfectly fine. And we let this simmer for just until it's cooked. That's it. And this is your dish. This is already done now. So all we're going to do is turn this heat down a little bit. And you can taste, you could give a little taste for your palate. And if you feel like it needs a little bit of sauce, you could add although I only use 1/2 a cup of dashi. I make a cup from the packet, and I reserve that because that way you can make miso soup if you want, and if you want to add a little bit more dashi to this, you can, and that's all there is to it. So let's go to see the.
Hey Jane, for folks at home,
Yes.
I saw that you had a cup of water for one of these like almost tea bag packs of dashi.
Yes.
Is that the correct proportion? 1 cup for one of these bags?
They say you can make 2 cups
Oh,
with this 1 pack.
okay.
But because I really want to emphasize the flavoring of the dish that comes from the dashi by using very minimal oshoyu, I make my dashi a little bit stronger because the flavor will penetrate and really be the basis of the sauce rather than soy sauce.
I see. Yeah. I personally have not seen this particular dashi at the store, but where could folks find something like this? Or
you can find ready-made packs at Nijiya, Marukai, Mitsuwa. They all have those kinds of all right. Now I'm going to taste it a little bit, and I could adjust the flavor here. For those who don't have salt restrictions and whatnot, you can add a little bit more soy sauce, but really I want to encourage folks to really appreciate the sauce of the dashi. To me, that is perfect. Now, shall I talk about the
I think
now?
that's, yeah.
Okay, So I used what was a package. It looked just like this, but it was in this one. You'll notice one is red, one is green. This is for shabu, it is cut for shabu shabu, and I used it for gyudon. You can also use sukiyaki. What is the difference? The difference between sukiyaki and shabu shabu, same meat. It is a Angus prime chuck roll, and price is same per pound. So either one of these, one is thicker, one is thinner. You can also, if you really want to treat your loved one, this is shabu shabu and this is a ribeye. It's a little bit more expensive than the chuck, prime chuck. Maybe a little bit more marbled and flavorful, definitely a little softer. But these are all choices that work perfectly well for gyudon. And if you don't have pre-sliced meat, it's perfectly fine to use steak meat too and slice it really thin at home.
Yeah, maybe for folks who don't have a Nijiya Marukai meat spawn near you, I've been told that like the butcher at Ralph's or Albertsons could help thinly slice the meat for you.
Oh,
Is that, yeah, and
I'm sure they
heard
will.
that.
I'm so worried that my sauce is gonna evaporate.
Okay,
So
sure.
I'm gonna
So
go
while
ahead
you're
and-
plating this, we did get a question from Jennifer.
Sure.
Jennifer says the title of this presentation had the word donburi in it.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother made a chicken and egg donburi dish
Yes.
that I loved. Can you explain what donburi means? It must not refer to the contents, but maybe more of the method.
No, donburi refers to the bowl.
Ah.
This is your classic bowl, and it's a donburi. So don is for the dish that's going to go into this kind of a container or a vessel.
Mhm.
But most homeowners, if you don't have a Japanese style donburi, it's perfectly fine to use, you know, a soup bowl like this, pretty generic, right? Everyone probably has a bowl like that.
I
but
have several bowls like this.
that's where the term donburi comes from.
So
Yeah.
Jennifer, I hope that helps answer your question. If we didn't, let us know, but if you have more questions, everyone else out there, please send it in through the chat.
I like to put a little bit of the sauce on the rice before we top it with the meat dish. And then make sure you get nice serving of the onions on the rice. And I'll move this out of the way. Thank you. So this is all there is to this dish. Isn't this a nice healthy serving of meat and onions? Lots of nice onions on here. Very healthy. Very fast and simple.
I can imagine whether you're a working person or you're a caregiver who's providing care for a loved one. Jane, this is something that I could do in 15. I mean, we made this in 10 minutes, 15.
Yes.
You did have the mise en place already portioned out, but you know, we could do it the Japanese grandma style and just eyeball it too.
Right.
If you're
If you know what about 2 tablespoons of all of these ingredients are, you could just completely do it without pouring it ahead of time. Now, here's something that we're going to do today. And I want to talk about the garnishes. So this is your completed bowl, but what would look nice in this is this one. We like to pop a color. So let's pop a little red in here. And of course, green onions. We want to put green onions in here. We'll do the same here. Pop some red in here. Japanese people like to use hichimi. That's a 7 ground Japanese peppers. So I like to sprinkle a little right here on top, gives it a little kick. Now, many Japanese will put a raw egg yolk on this. But in the United States, I know that we try to be very careful about food poisoning and salmonella that comes from eating raw foods. So what I did was I went ahead and I poached an egg so that you can get a true enjoyment of the egg yolk, which everyone likes to crack right on top of the meat. And
Page 3 of your recipe has Jane's instructions for the poached egg.
really quickly, so if you don't want to mix your egg white into your meat, you can even take your egg white off if you prefer to really have
Wow.
a much more yolky, rich donburi.
Mhm.
And if you like your egg poached, and then this is a version that has the egg white together in it, but inside is still creamy. Shall we pop it? Let's go ahead.
Sure.
Look at how creamy that is.
Wow.
That is wonderful. And this is your gyudon. Now this one is more traditional in that you don't have the egg white, right?
Yeah.
So, this, I want to eat it right now.
I had lunch not too long ago and I'm getting hungry.
Okay,
So I'll also bring up that Jennifer talked about chicken and egg donburi dish.
Yeah.
What is that?
so it's very much like this. You can put it right into this vessel, and it's made almost the same way, Jennifer. You make onions inside a dashi broth. Once again, you really want to get a good dashi going with the brown onions, just like I did. And then you put your chicken meat in there instead of the beef, and you get raw egg, mix it up really well in a bowl, gently put it over the chicken meat that is cooking in the dashi with the onions, and then you coddle the eggs. Don't let it get completely cooked. Don't stir it, otherwise you'll get scrambled eggs. You just let the egg sit in there on top of the chicken, and you cover it for just a little bit. And then as soon as you feel that egg is still runny, but got the glaze over it, you shut your heat off and put it right over your hot rice, and it's just like that. And you could top it with green onions. That's oyako donburi.
Oyakodon.
Oyakodon or oyako donburi. Oyako means parent and child. So that is your traditional don. And again, they say donburi or don because it's in a donburi.
Yeah. You know,
That's nice.
as I'm looking at this and thinking about this, I'm thinking about loved ones who are at home who are being cared for by our community's caregivers. This is a quick 10-minute meal. If you were to place this in front of, you know, I know your mother was a care recipient,
Yes.
right? She could probably look at this and think, oh my gosh, childhood,
Exactly.
nostalgia, tastes good, nutritious, and it's easy enough for the caregiver to prepare in a short amount of time. The cleanup's going to be pretty easy.
Yep.
So this is maybe in your repertoire. This is a dish that you want to make quite often.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the emphasis again is to really acquire the palate for the dashi, because that's the basis of getting the richness, the umami that comes from your kombu katsuo mix. And a couple of other things that some of our viewers have asked before. Given that meeting is alcohol based, if you prefer not to use alcohol and not to use sake, you could substitute water for sake, and you can also find non-alcohol meeting at Japanese markets. Something I do want to caution though is many times you will see meeting like on your bottled labels. You want to look at the ingredients because to the degree that you're able, you want to avoid the high fructose corn syrup. Hon meeting is true meeting. That's what hon means. It is real meeting. And it comes from rice and the fermentation of rice. And the sweetness is a natural sweetness that is extracted through that fermentation process. So just be mindful of that if you're going to use hon meeting. That's about it.
Okay. Well, we have time for Q&A for folks. So if you have questions about the dish we made, about any caregiving experiences or other things about culinary cuisine, we are here to help answer any questions that you might have. But while we're talking about this, while we're also waiting for questions to come in, I do want to break this down a little bit further, Jane, because I have gone to like Marukai and I have purchased the sukiyaki meat, the shabu shabu meat, and I, for the life of me, am like, they're the same thing. But I know that we have talked about it and have said almost the same, maybe, but I know that you had said maybe for folks who have trouble chewing, or maybe for folks who might have dentures or something,
Sure.
you might want to try a different cut of meat. So,
Right.
So what would you recommend for folks who?
Well, I would definitely recommend the shabu shabu cut because as we showed you, this is paper thin. So even though it is not ribeye, the thinness of this meat, and we cut this, by the way, into thirds so that it wasn't stringy like this. In order to manage it better and to cook it into a donburi, we cut this. So when you do that, it really makes that much more manageable. And look at how small and thin, and so it's not hard to chew. But the softest, of course, is this prime grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the sukiyaki meat's a little bit thicker of a cut,
Yes,
and the shabu shabu meat is a thinner cut.
thinner cut.
Got it.
You want to open that and show our
Sure, we
viewers?
can do that.
Yeah. Because they'll be able to see the comparison. And as I mentioned, the price per pound is the same. And for this one is $7.66. So just $3.50 a person. No, $3 and a little, just under $4 a person. You'll have a serving for meat. Okay, so look at this cut. I'm going to put this right on here.
Okay.
When you take this meat, this is this much thicker than the shabu shabu meat. It's just a grade thicker than shabu shabu. Can everyone see that? It's hard to tell,
Yeah.
but maybe we should put the shabu right next to it.
Sure.
And it's the same cut.
I would say like thickness wise, maybe double the size or like double the thickness.
yeah. When you look at this and when you look at this, it feels heavier.
Why is it that shabu shabu meat and sukiyaki meat are different cuts like this?
Thickness. It could be the same cut of meat, but the thickness is different because shabu shabu you have, and we're gonna do that in our next one, remember?
Let's not tease too much now.
We have a pot. It's got roiling water in it. And then what you want to do is take your meat and just dip it and shabu shabu. So it cooks much more quickly if you the thinner the cut of meat.
Interesting. Okay, we did get a couple comments here. I want to be able to get to these. So
Okay.
Jennifer says, it looks delicious. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for the oyakodon cooking tips. I have wanted to learn how to make it for years and regret not learning from my grandmother. So yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for that comment. And then JP says, regarding thin sliced meat, what is kiriotoshi? What does it mean?
Kiriotoshi. Cut off. Oh, Keiko-san here is interpreting, and she's saying that these are the ends that are sliced of a larger cut of meat, you take the ends and you slice them. Kiriotoshi.
Kiryo. I learned a new word today. Kiryotoshi. All right. Well. I don't know what to do with this. Again, please keep the questions or comments coming in. I did see a bunch of other comments come in, so thank you all for joining us. We did have another question here. How about unagi? Different types of eel
Unagi.
or
Yeah.
unagi don maybe? Yeah.
Anything that has rice. Now that don is not a donburi. They call it unagi don because there's rice in a traditional lacquered rectangle box, and then the pieces of unagi are laid on top. That's also a very interesting dish. Nowadays in the markets, you find that all arranged, pre-marinated. But in Japan, there are markets that will sell the unagi to you with it fresh. And there's so many, well, there's a season for donburi, unagi. It just passed, by the way. There's a national donburi day, unagi day. And so, yeah, that's fun to do too. That instead of shichimi that we use, this kind of red pepper.
We turned it off.
Oh. Instead of the red pepper, they use sancho, which is more, it's a Japanese pepper too, but has a little bit different flavor. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, if you folks have any other questions, let us know, but we are going to start wrapping up here. This was a little bit of a quicker cooking with care. We want to be mindful of everyone's time. All of our caregivers out there, I know that this takes a little bit of time out of your day, so we want to be mindful of your time as well. So we will be hanging out for a little bit longer after today's webinar, but if you have any other questions, please send us in the chat or let us know.
I can make it again.
Maybe if you want to make that again, we can start to close.
Because I opened.
Okay,
that.
so with that, Rosemary, yes, we will be sending a recording of this after webinar. We'll be sending a thank you email. So with that, we want to thank you all for joining us today, and we hope that you feel a little bit more confident in preparing this meal or a meal like this for your loved ones. We'll be sending a follow-up email to you all with today's recipe and other helpful links, and of course the recording. If you enjoyed today's program and want to support the growing needs of our community's older adults and caregivers, please consider making a gift today. Your support creates resources and opportunities to ensure not just a healthy, but a thriving community. Our programs team is putting both support links for both Keiro and JECCC in the chat box here. Keiro's mission is to enhance the quality of life for older adults and caregivers in our community. By attending this program, we hope that we have improved your quality of life. Thank you for attending and have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.